How I accidentally got started in real estate investing, and how I've had 100% occupancy in that rental property for the last 7 years. I'm going to tell my story in this video. So hey guys, this is Eric Sztanyo with Keller Williams Realty and TeamStanyo.com, where we are helping you build a bridge to your future real estate dreams. And in this video, I wanted to do a little something different and just kind of tell a story about how I got started in real estate investing about 7 or 8 years ago now, maybe more like 10 if you look at it another way. So I'd love to hear in the comments below. A lot of people have different stories about how they got started. I built a house with my dad when I was in 8th grade, but I never did any investing or, was taught by my dad how to invest that way, apart from the building side of it. So I kind of stumbled into it in my early 20s when I was newly married. We didn't have bigger pockets or things like that back then. So it was definitely a learning experience for me, and still is. I thought that this story would be helpful and some of you guys would want to know it. So I was over at my rental property this week, in fact, and I was re-upping the lease, and I just kind of was thinking, the story of this home is really cool, and every year we have more tenants in it. The story just keeps getting cooler. So let me explain how that happened. So I was a young man. My wife and I were newly married, and we were part of this volunteer youth ministry called Young Life. Some of you guys might know about that ministry. And we weren't really thinking about real estate investing at all, or assets at that point. The only thing we were thinking about was, this ministry and how to show kindness and, take care of these students at Anderson High School on the east side of Cincinnati. And so we were living in this apartment, and then we decided, we wanted to buy a house. And we wanted to buy a house for the purposes of this ministry, where students can come over and feel comfortable, and we could have fun, and it's kind of surrounded by neighbors. So we bought this property on kind of a main artery on Clough Pike in Anderson. And it's been a fantastic house. So we just lived in it for a few years, and the story of how we got into real estate investing, we weren't thinking about investing at all then. We were just buying a house. But we ended up having our first son. So fast forward a few years later, and I had been starting to listen to real estate investing a little bit, starting to think more like a husband and a father. I was reading this book, Equity Happens, by the Real Estate Guys, and listening to their podcast a lot, and was thinking, okay, yeah, I want to build these assets. So we had our first son, and what happened was my wife was working full time. And then after we had the baby, she started working part-time, and we thought, man, I wonder if we could supplement her income and get her home full-time with our baby. And so we thought about that, and we had these friends who were doing this crazy thing at the time, which was called, they were VRBOing their house. And some of you guys might know what that is, some of you not, but there was this website back then, and it still exists. It's called Vacation Rentals by Owner. And this was prior to the whole Airbnb craze. So right now this is only 6 or 7 years ago, but Airbnb really took off, and that concept became more, familiar to people. But back then it was a little bit weird. And so we had these friends who would rent out their house and go travel for months at a time. And while they were traveling, they'd be making money. And we were like, this is crazy. That sounds amazing. Let's try that. So we ended up renting. We put up our house on this VRBO website for the summer, and it booked the entire summer. And we were like, what? Who comes to Cincinnati to vacation? We had no idea that people would want to come live in a house instead of a hotel. And we, come to find out, they came to the city for all kinds of reasons. It wasn't just vacation. Some of it was vacation, going to Kings Island or Reds games or things like that. But a lot of the other reasons people were coming were for weddings or for anniversaries, or some people were coming for children's hospitals. Some people were coming on business trips. And there was enough of a demand. It was really eye-opening to us. Man, people would much rather, if they're coming in a group, they would much rather stay in a house than in a hotel in separate rooms. And so that was a big eye-opener for us. So we rented our house out that summer, And towards the end of the summer, we actually tried to buy another house in Anderson by our friends, and it didn't work out. So we actually did a long-term lease in our house to these other set of Young Life leaders, these other single guys who were volunteering their time in that ministry that we were a part of. And let's see, we had stopped volunteering for that ministry in 2008. This was 2011. And so we thought, you know what, we bought this house specifically for this ministry. It's a really good fit for it. So we want to keep it as an asset, not only financially for us as a real estate investment property, but also to the ministry in the area where, as time goes on, these Young Life leaders could continue to live in a house that was kind of separated, that had a little buffer zone from neighbors, which is a good thing because high school students can get really loud and obnoxious, but also just be a cool place for them to come. And so it's been like that for 6-7 years now. We just re-upped the 7th lease. We've had zero vacancy. We've had 100% occupancy in the home, and it's a really cool thing because it's hitting 2 big points on my wife and I's really mission, which is, we want to grow kind of our family's own wealth, and we want to invest, but we also really care about different ministry things, and this house is serving that purpose. So it's really cool. We kind of accidentally, when we bought the house, we were never thinking like that. Now when I talk to a lot of young guys who are getting married, a lot of times I'll coach them like, hey, can you, instead of renting an apartment, can you buy a duplex? Can you get a down payment and live in one side and rent out the other? It's a great way to get started. We were not thinking that when we bought the house. We just kind of accidentally stumbled into it. So here we are 7 years later, and we've done a few other rental properties. We ended up buying a multifamily later. We ended up buying and rehab another home, because we had our little home that we were doing this vacation rental with, but we thought, man, what if we built a big home right near downtown, and it could host more people, and it was awesome. So we did this big rehab, and that'll be a story for another video. It didn't end out the best for us, but we came out ahead, but there's another story to that one. I've looked into some other things. When you think about vacation rental, what you're thinking about is how do you maximize the cash flow for a certain space. And so a few years ago, I also got into the idea of senior living and looking into residential assisted living homes. And that was something I got kind of far down the road, but didn't quite pull the trigger on, but that could be something in the future. So I don't know. So that's the story. That's where I'm at today. I'd love to hear from you guys if you thought this story was cool or helpful. I've got a goal as I'm getting this real estate business off the ground. Definitely helping residential homeowners buy and sell in the city, but I also care a lot about investors. And I'm going to specifically, probably on this channel, be making more content around investors, because I would love to see more people investing in Cincinnati. And I'll probably clarify that vision a little bit more in videos to come. But if you're watching this video, if you thought it was cool or helpful, give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. I'd love to hear how you got started into real estate investing, if you have, or if you want to get started in real estate investing, I would love to have that conversation with you. Give us a call. So that's it. That's how I accidentally got started in real estate investing, and have had 100% occupancy in that home. It's been a real blessing for my wife and I, and for our family. So thanks for watching this video, guys. We'll see you next time.